This grassy area next to the Savannah Visitor Center looks so peaceful today. But for a few weeks in 1779, it was littered with the bodies of fallen soldiers. Let's talk about the ghosts of the Siege of Savannah. When I walk around Madison Square at night, I see large groups of tourists gathered around ghost guides. The guides tell them the legend of the nearby Sorrel Weed House. It's a tale of abandonment and suicide, and maybe murder, depending on who tells it. But the guides usually bring the discussion back around to the older ghosts that haunt the square. Almost 60 years before Madison Square and the surrounding buildings were built, this area was part of the British battlements to defend Savannah against the rebelling American colonists and their allies. In 2008 and 2009, archaeologists surveyed several locations around Savannah believed to be part of the siege. The project, called Savannah Under Fire, allowed them to locate a defensive ditch built by the British in Madison Square. It doesn't get as much national attention as the northern colonies, but Georgia, and Savannah in particular, were a key part of the British plan to win the Revolutionary War by holding on to the southern colonies. In fact, Georgia gets a brief mention in Hamilton when Aaron Burr is singing Wait For It.
He's on the British side in Georgia. He's trying to keep the colonies in line.
From September 16, 1779 to October 18th of the same year, these now quiet areas of Savannah were a hellscape. Plays like Hamilton make the war seem so much more organized than it actually was. Even though the Americans had the British outnumbered and outmanned in Savannah with reinforcements from French, Haitian, Polish, Irish, Scottish, and German forces, they truly found themselves outgunned and outplanned. Now, this wasn't just a war between opposing forces. Innocent women and children were caught in the crossfire inside the city. The British asked to allow a ship of women and children out, but were denied. So while gunshots and cannon fire rang throughout the streets, mothers and their children huddled in their homes praying one of those cannonballs didn't fall onto them. When the gun smoke finally cleared, the British had 155 casualties, but the Americans had more than 800. The Irish forces and French officers suffered the most deaths and injuries. I'm not sure if women and children were counted in the list of casualties, but I do know that some of them were also killed and injured during the siege. The area then known as Spring Hill had been the main location for American forces and their allies, which meant that the soil here was also watered with their blood. Impressively, it was the Haitian soldiers who fared the best during the battle. I spoke with Emily Beck, the Director of Interpretation for Coastal Heritage Society, about the Haitians participants in the siege.
They end up coming in at the last minute. They hold the line so that many of the troops who had already attacked, or what was left of them basically, can retreat. And so they are the last stand between the Allied troops and the British.
Some of them would later go on to participate in freeing their own country from the French. Those soldiers have a monument dedicated to them in Savannah's Franklin Square.
They're very proud of their contribution. Even today, like we do a battlefield march every year, and the Haitians will send a delegation, and they always have a wreath because it's a really heroic story.
Even though the crack of gunshots and the cries of the dying no longer echo across Spring Hill, which is now known as Battlefield Park, you can still feel a sense of something as you stand here. Is it the spirit of William Jasper, an Irish soldier who was mortally wounded while trying to rescue his regiment's flag? He's immortalized in a statue in Madison Square where each year before St. Patrick's Day, there's a ceremony to remember him. Or is it the ghost of Casimir Pulaski, a Polish noble who was also killed during the Siege of Savannah? Some people say that Pulaski haunts the area around his grave and monument in Monterey Square, but I disagree. Battlefield Park is definitely haunted by something. While I was filming there, I felt a hand on my shoulder. When I turned around, I realized I was the only person there. And this isn't the only spot where spirits appear. This corner of Madison Square is also active. One time, I had the distinct impression that a male spirit was standing in front of me, wondering why I was there. The next time you stroll through downtown Savannah at night and feel the pull of another time on the edge of your consciousness, take a moment. Maybe you'll be able to catch a glimpse of soldiers still fighting a battle from 242 years ago.